Was it Eric? Man, I won't be sitting here. I'll be sitting. Yeah. Are you staying here with me the whole time? Or?
I said,
Nobody better not kick this freaking tripod. $2,000 on top of this tripod. Yes.
Congratulations.
Weird Mashenko came back and said, you know what I mean? Weird Mashenko came back and said, double check this. I don't know if this is actually picking up. It's a tricky time on this. This is going to be stuff with the cameras, which is intended. I hate doing video.
There's some seats available on the front right of the auditorium as well. Yes.
Would you even attach this to the camera?
Do that. Hello, what's the name?
Good afternoon, students. Welcome, juniors, seniors, administrators, staff, special guests. My name is Miss Cipriano. I'm the high school librarian, for those of you who may not know. And I would just like to respectfully ask that you silence and put away your cell phones. Take out your AirPods, earbuds, headphones, whatever, and put those away so that we can be fully present for today's presenter. We're really fortunate here at Penn Argyle to be able to host our guest speaker today, and I have the distinct privilege of introducing him. Eric McElvenny is a lucky husband and proud father of 3 who currently resides in Pittsburgh. He had the privilege of serving 7 years in the United States Marine Corps after graduating from the United States Naval Academy in 2006. While on his final military deployment, an opportunity to serve in Afghanistan. In December of 2011, Eric was wounded during combat operations. This injury forced him to consider some different options for his life, and eventually it led him on a new journey. In the time since, Eric has competed in and completed multiple Ironman competitions, distance triathlons, and just this year in 2021, he represented the United States in the Tokyo Paralympics. He looks forward to sharing his story from the military to the finish lines and the habits we can use to embrace life's challenges, which I think speaks very nicely to our character education program and that of the Code of the Green Knights. So let us give him our undivided attention, and let's give him the warmest Green Knight welcome. Here is Captain Eric McElvenny.
All right, sorry for that delay. Gotta get things going. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you for having me. Thanks for everything. I felt so welcome when I showed up here, and I look out and I see there's a sign as I'm walking up to the school that's welcoming me. That is crazy. That is awesome. It's such an honor to be here. Such a pleasure to be here. Thanks. I see so much red, white, and blue up there. That's so cool. I know Veterans Day was 2 weeks ago. But happy Veterans Day. Does anyone here have military in their family? Wow, that's a ton of you. That's awesome. I hope you had a cool opportunity to spend some time, or at least wish someone a happy Veterans Day. I'll tell you, I have the privilege right now to share some of my life with you. And I have some stories from my military experience, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to share that with you. But you who have military in your family or friends, I challenge you to sit down with them because as we look at our veterans, and I learned this when I was young. When I look at their veterans, you can see character. You see motivation. You see courage. You see problem solvers. You see grit, and you see sacrifice in so many ways. And I guess a lot of times when someone will see me, they'll thank me for my sacrifice. I'm standing up here on a prosthetic leg, but I don't think about that. I think about the holidays that I spent away from home. I think about the deployments that I spent away from my daughter. And that's one thing all of our military veterans share is sacrificing the way they live their life. So something to be proud of and something to dig into. And curious, any future military in here? A couple hands go up. I love it. Thank you for that willingness. I'm usually not a very good recruiter, standing up here on one leg, but that's all right. I am going to share my story. I hope there's something that you can find that will relate to you. You know, I'm sure my story is unique to me. You're not going to have the same exact experiences as me, but as you go through your life, you're going to experience some things that are similar, and maybe some of the lessons that I've learned through my life, you're going to be able to apply in your life. And I don't want to bore you by just continuously talking here. So I'm going to start. I'm going to jump into a story, and that's kind of what I'm going to do throughout. I'm going to see how. All right. I had the pleasure of serving our country in uniform as a Marine, and something that I love to do. And then this past August, I found myself in Tokyo, Japan. Did anyone watch the Olympics or Paralympics? You, it's pretty neat. I watched it all growing up, and now that the Paralympics are more televised, it was kind of crazy. But I looked down before I started this race. I raced triathlon, and I looked down and I saw the USA across my chest, and I realized, I served our country in uniform, and I kind of came full circle when I was representing our country as an athlete as well, and that was pretty neat. It was a pretty neat experience for me, and I'm going to go ahead and share the pinnacle of the Paralympics for me. I'm going to share that with you, and it wasn't actually in Tokyo. It wasn't actually during that race. For me, it actually happened a few months earlier during a qualifying race in Leeds, England. So in Leeds, England, picture ourselves in England. It's actually not a lot different uh, than I would say Eastern Pennsylvania here. It's pretty hilly, pretty green. There were a lot of farms. It was pretty neat. But this was a qualifying race. And going into this race, I was ranked 16th in the world in my category in triathlon. The top 10 athletes in the world in my category were going to qualify. So I was still on the outside looking in, and I crunched all the numbers, the scores I needed to get. I had to get third place in England. I couldn't get fourth, or I wasn't going to qualify. First or second would have been great, but I had to get at least third. And I start this race. It's a sprint triathlon, so what that means is a swim, bike, and run. We have any swimmers out there? Who here? All right, 2 people can swim. Excellent. How about that? Cyclists. Anyone ride their bike around a little bit? Yeah, that'll come a little bit later, more of you. How about runners? Where's yeah, I know Sarah's a runner. Got some more runners in the back and stuff. Cross country track. I'm sure everyone can run. But that's what it is. It's a swim, bike, run, and it's a fast event. It takes a little over an hour. So I finished the swim. I get out of the swim. I'm in about 7th place. So I'm not doing great. There's 17 athletes in my category. When I say category, I race against people with physical disabilities that are like mine. It's either below the knee impairment or above elbow. So I'm in 7th place. I'm like, oh, that's not where I need to be. Need to be in third. I crushed the bike ride. I do pretty well on this bike ride, and I'm just kind of leaving it all out there. During a sprint triathlon, you're going as hard as you can. Have you ever pushed yourself as hard as you can, mentally or physically? I'm talking physically. Like everything's burning at this point. My legs are jello. But I get off the bike, and I'm basically like tied for fourth. And after the bike ride, we have to transition to the run. And in transition, I change legs. So I go from a cycling leg, I have a couple different prosthetic legs, to this running leg. And as I go into transition, I'm changing my leg. And out of the corner of my eye, I see an athlete running out of transition. He's a good bit ahead of me, and I recognize him. He's a Spanish athlete that I've raced before, and that's when mentally that hurt me, because I've raced him a couple times and I've never beat him. And knowing that he's ahead of me, now running out of transition with only a 5K run, 3.1 miles run, I thought, oh, he's going to beat me. But I didn't have time to think about it, right? Because these races go by real quick. So I see him go out. I finish putting my leg on. I pull up this sleeve, because when you're running and your leg falls off, that's a bad day. And I pull that up nice and tight, and I start jogging, and I'm just putting one foot in front of the other. I know I have to at least catch him. At this point, he was in fourth. So not only do I have to catch him, but I have to catch another guy in front of him. And I'm running. I'm doing it 1 foot in front of the other. At about a half of a mile, I see him. Because the course is winding. It's 3 1-mile loops, basically. And you can't see all the athletes. But I see him and I realize, oh my goodness, I'm actually catching him. I don't think I expected that to happen, but I'm catching him and he's getting closer. So he's like 20 feet away, 10 feet away. I'm going, okay, I'm going to make the pass. I'm going to make the pass. And when I pass someone in a race, I do a couple things. My strategy is one, try to make myself look as fresh as I possibly can and run past him a little bit faster than what I can maintain because I don't want him to think that he can hang on to me. So I do that. And the next thing, I like to say goodbye to them in their foreign language. So I go running by him. I'm like, adios, amigo. I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. That's not part of my strategy. That would be kind of messed up. But I did make myself look real fresh. I go running by him, and after the next turn, I kind of peek over my shoulder, and he's not there. I'm like, all right, got it. Now I'm in fourth place. I have to get third in order to qualify to go to Tokyo. And this isn't just a one race thing. I've been working at this for a few years now. Now I've been putting a lot of time in. And for it to just be dropped right here, that would kind of hurt. But I keep doing my thing. I run the next lap, and as I'm starting the last lap, the last mile, I see the next athlete from Luxembourg, and I see him, and I've already made up time on him. I see his coach reach out and say, "Hey, 3." That means he's in third. So I was doing my math right. Like, okay, he's in third. That means if I pass him, I'm in third. I'm going to do it. I'm going to pass him. I'm catching him at half mile left. About a half mile, I am about to pass him, and so I prep myself again, right? I freshen myself up. I'm going to go run by him a little bit quicker. And I'm trying to make myself look comfortable just because that hurts. If someone goes running by you looking comfortable, that's going to be demoralizing. So I want to do that. And I go and I try to do that. I run past them and I'm going hard. And I don't peek over my shoulder. I don't want to lose a second. I'm running. At this point now, we're under a half of a mile. It's less than two laps around a track. That's where we are. There's 3 turns left. The first one is a U-turn. On a U-turn, you're running down the road, you run around a cone, and you come back this way, and that is a chance, an opportunity to see where your competitors are. Right? I can see how much I gained on them. After that U-turn, we were going to run up a hill, and after that hill was another U-turn. We'll run back down that hill. So that's the second turn. And the last turn is a hard left, 150 yards to the finish line. And at this point, I just took third. And I'm hoping that I'm putting space and time in between us because I cannot maintain the space. My lungs are burning. My lungs are burning. My legs are feeling heavy. And I'm just putting everything into it. I'm going to get to this U-turn, turn around, and see him at least 20 to 25 feet behind me. Get to the U-turn. I make the turn, and he's right on my shoulder. And again, mentally that hurt. I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't think he was going to stick with me. And I wonder if he's hurting as bad as I am. And again, you don't have too much time to think about it. There's a hill coming up. My wife always kind of makes fun of me because I have a little bit bigger of a butt. And I'm like, I'm going to use this big butt. I'm going to power myself. This thing's an engine. This is an engine. I'm going to use this. I'm going to power myself up this hill. And I take that hill hard. I went super hard up that hill. We get to the next U-turn. He's at least 10 feet behind me. He has to be. I make that U-turn, and not only is he on my shoulder, but he passes me. He passes me up, and he starts going down this hill, and I'm watching him. And I'm in pain, and he's getting further away. He's like 5 feet away, 7 feet away. And at this point, I see my road to Tokyo, my chance of qualifying for the Paralympics, what I've been working for a few years now. I see it running away from me. And I start to struggle with that, and then it hit me. It's like, you know what? Not today. This isn't going to happen today. And I know this is going to hurt, but I can do anything. I can do anything for a minute, right? I can endure a little bit more pain. And that's when I just dug in. I dug in, and I started running down that hill as hard as I could. And I started catching him. Went from 7 feet to 5 feet to 2 feet. We get to the bottom of the hill, and we make this left. And for some reason, I don't know if he caught it off guard, but he took it a little bit wide, and I took it nice and tight, and I passed him on that left. And I start digging in and running as hard as I possibly can. My lungs are burning. I'm dizzy. My legs, I don't even know how they work at this point, but I start my sprint, a football field and a half. And I just start going. I don't know if he's going to pass on my left or right, but I can see the finish line, and I see it getting closer and closer and closer. And as we get there, I come across that finish line. I came across that finish line almost immediately. I collapsed. I collapsed onto the ground. I'm struggling to catch my breath, still dizzy. Someone comes up to me, puts ice on my neck, and pouring water on my head, and I kind of peek over and I see him in the same position. But that's when I realized I did it. I got third place. I got third place by 1 second. By 1 second. And oh man, all that pain at that point in time was worth it. My road to Tokyo, my chance of qualifying, hitting that goal to represent Team USA at Paralympics was still alive. I still had 2 races left, but after that race, I had never been so excited to get a third place in my life. It felt so good. And I had to ask myself, like, wow, where did this come from? How did I get to this point in my life? How did I get here? And I thought about it, and I realized, the journey started after the biggest challenge and change of my life, right? And this is where everyone in this room gets to come into my story a little bit. I know not everyone's going to experience the Olympics, Paralympics, or big races. Maybe you don't like racing at all. That's okay. But I know for a fact that everyone here is going to face challenge. And I say it in a good way. Accept challenge. I like to tell people to embrace challenge, right? Embrace challenge, because when we face some challenge and adversity and obstacles, maybe it's hard and uncomfortable during it, but that's when we grow. That's when we grow. And I love this. I got 11th and 12th graders, leaders of the school. You guys are here. You have a foundation of character. We all have character, right? I think I like to say it doesn't matter what situation we're in, like what's going on in our life, what challenge we're facing. Because we all have our own unique stories and our own unique lives, but I think what really defines us and who we are is how we step up to the plate and how we handle these circumstances. Right? Has anyone here ever gotten knocked down? I have. I get knocked down a lot. What matters isn't that. It's how you get yourself back up and brush yourself off a little bit and start pushing forward. Yeah? Or maybe things are going well this week or this month or this year. It's how you look around and you pull others up with us. And that's what character is. And I love the values. I love the values because character, you don't just wake up one day and flip a switch and all of a sudden you're someone of great character. Character is something that you work on, something that we work on, that you've been working on, and that you're going to continue to work on. You're going to build a foundation. You got to do it through consistency, consistently doing the little things, those habits and behaviors that we have that really make us who we are. So when we do face a challenge, we're able to grow through it. And some of the things that are important to me, they don't have to be that important to you. You can have other values, but integrity is hugely important to me. Do the people around me trust me? Or did I mess that up at some point? Because integrity is important to me. Work ethic, right? When I'm given a task or a job or a mission, am I the person that's going to go out and pour everything into it? Or am I going to do just enough to slip by? You see that? That happens. Do I care about the people around me? Right? Because a lot of times we get stuck thinking, what's in it for me? Do we have compassion for our friends, for our classmates, for the people around us, for family? And this one's big. Do I have grit? Do I have resilience? When things start to get a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit challenging, am I quick to walk away and quit? Or am I that person that's going to dig in and push forward? And I'm fortunate I've had people in my life that have really helped me navigate through some challenge, and that's what I want to do. I want to share some of these stories with you. So, yeah, let's actually, I'm going to give you a quick background of who I am. I am the really good-looking guy in the front row with the red sweater and the bowl cut. That haircut's coming back. I look at this picture, and one, I laughed a little bit. If for some reason you ever meet someone in my family, don't tell them I use this picture, because they said one time, hey, don't use that picture. That's like from the mid-'80s. That's embarrassing. I'm like, oh, I don't use that picture. Don't worry. But I look at this picture, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful because I didn't realize it at that time, but growing up, my parents' value mattered so much. 2 older sisters, they made me tougher growing up because they used to beat me up a little bit. I can take them now, maybe not at the same time. They're still kind of tough. But my parents valued character. They valued work ethic. They valued integrity. That was important. My dad loved sports. Because he loves sports, I ended up loving sports. We have any athletes here? Yeah, we have a few good stuff. And my talk, it's sports heavy because that's one of my passions. If that's not your passion, that's all right. If it's music, if it's math, and we got some math students in here. It's whatever it is. That's how we impact people in a positive way. But this is me going out for football in the sixth grade. This is supposed to be an intimidating picture. What do you think? Is that intimidating? I don't know why we took this picture in front of pink flowers. And you're not supposed to smile at football pictures. People didn't tell me that until seventh grade, but I cleared things up. Don't worry. I love sports. Because I love sports, I had to appreciate school. Right? Some of you probably have parents like this, but I wasn't allowed to play on the teams unless I got good grades. That was my mom's role. And it was a school assignment that ended up impacting me in a big way. In the eighth grade now, I had to do a career research report. What do you want to be when you grow up? You guys know what you want to be when you grow up? That's all right. I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up, right? It's tough. I went home, I asked my parents, and my dad, he said, you should check out the military. And I was like, okay, the military. If you go back to when I was in middle school, out of all the branches of service, you have the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard. I thought by far the United States Marine Corps has the best commercials on television. And so that was my criteria for choosing my career. I decided to do this report in the United States Marine Corps, and I did. And that's when it impacted me, because I did this study. I started studying the Marine Corps and our military, and military in general. I realized such a rich history, stories of valor, stories of heroes, and I realized that there's always going to be someone sacrificing the way they live their life in order to provide freedom for our nation. To me, that was a purpose larger than myself, something that I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to serve that purpose. So I decided I was going to be a Marine. When I grew up, that happened. In the path that I took to get into the Marine Corps, I actually went to the United States Naval Academy. Is anyone familiar with the Naval Academy? Is anyone applying to the Naval Academy? Oh, there we go. There's one. Go Navy. Be an Army. If you've ever heard of West Point, Navy is a lot like West Point, but way better. All right. The Naval Academy, 4-year college, and after that, it's a 5-year commitment at a minimum in the Navy or Marine Corps. So I go to the Naval Academy. I played rugby there. You got that on your shirt, which is kind of cool. I appreciate that. Rugby is a good sport. If you've ever watched rugby and you had no idea what's going on, I played for 3 years and I had no idea what was going on. I just run around tackling people. Sometimes they're like, hey, great play, McElvenny. And other times they're like, oh, you can't do that. And it was fun, though. I played that. I studied mechanical engineering. We have any future engineers out there? There it is. That's a good one. Yeah, it was cool. I was more science and math minded, and I wanted a challenge. It was going to be difficult, so I studied that, and I am so glad I studied mechanical engineering, because the most important thing that happened to me at the Naval Academy, I met my wife. She was also a student there, also studying mechanical engineering. So I used to go to her for help in my coursework. Not even because I cared about my grades really at all. I just thought she was really cute. My strategy paid off. We graduated in 2006. I was commissioned an officer in the United States Marine Corps. She was commissioned an officer in the United States Navy. A lot happened really quick. We started our family, got married, moved out to the San Diego area, and we started deploying. I got a picture of my wife. She is the one on the left, if you're curious. And I'm not the tallest guy. She's 5 foot, 100 pounds soaking wet, and to see her get in front of 50 sailors and be a leader was pretty amazing. I thought her courage and her independence and her willing to serve was, I don't know, I fell in love. So I did 5 deployments. No, we did 5 deployments. I did 3. She did 2. And as we were raising her first daughter, it was tough. This is her on one of her deployments. When I talk about that sacrifice, this is what I think of. On this deployment, she had a 2-year-old daughter that she had to wake up one morning and kiss goodbye and say, Mama's going to work. I'll see you in 8 months. And that's that sacrifice that our men and women put forth for our country. I had to do the same. It wasn't any easier for me. But my last deployment was a trip to Helmand Province, Afghanistan, a unique job where I got to lead a small team of 5 guys, including our interpreter. This is our interpreter, Kazim. We met him in country in Afghanistan. Our job was to train and mentor Afghan soldiers, a 120-man company of Afghan soldiers during combat operations. And this is one of the villages we operated in. This is Dahana. It was different. It was different than what I was used to. They didn't have running water or electricity, but I thought the landscape and where I was in Afghanistan was beautiful. Some desert areas with mountains and green around the Helmand River Valley. It was just it was something special. And what I always take away was hanging out with the villagers. This is my corpsman. Corpsman is a Navy. He's in the Navy, works with Marines, but he's a medic. And this is him outside of a school. And, a year prior to this, that school didn't exist. These kids would not be educated. The boys would be recruited into the Taliban, and the girls weren't allowed to be educated. So to be there, to see this happening, was something special. On December 9th, about 3.5 months into this deployment, on December 9th, this is 2011, my life changed. The day started like a normal day. Woke up at 4:30. We did some final preparation before going on a patrol. In this patrol, we were in a little bit of a newer area. It looked a lot like that village I showed you. But we would be walking around and with a mission of talking to and meeting the villagers, and getting them to trust the Afghan soldiers that we were with, and getting them to trust us. And we were out and about patrolling for like 5 hours. And every time I tell this story, that patrol ends up getting a little bit longer. But I can do that because it's my story. I'm just kidding. I won't do that. I wouldn't do that. But we're finishing up the 6-hour patrol, and we're heading back to our patrol base. And as we're heading back to our patrol base, about 1,000 meters, about a one-click out, I could see it. But that's when it happened. I stepped on an IED, an improvised explosive device, and I triggered an explosion underneath my right foot. I remember the experience vividly. It was a violent force that picked my body up and threw me to the ground. My ears were ringing instantly. I didn't even hear the explosion. I heard a pop, like you're opening a can of Coca-Cola, and then my ears were ringing. And at this point, life was in slow motion. The feeling of being underwater, I couldn't hear anything, and just life was in slow motion. I felt wetness on my left leg, up pretty high, and not with my hands because I had gloves on. I just felt that sensation. I didn't feel any pain. I could smell chemicals. I started to open my eyes. I could kind of see the desert, and I start to realize what's going on. Oh wait, I'm in Afghanistan. I'm laying on my back. I'm looking into the sky. 1 second earlier, it's a beautiful blue sky, not a cloud in it. Now it's full of smoke and dust, and that's when it hit me. Oh my goodness. I just stepped on an IED, and I knew it because we saw so many IEDs when we were there, so I knew that is what had happened. I knew that I was bleeding, and I still was not feeling pain, and for a moment I thought that was it. And I remember the 2 thoughts that went through my head. First, I thought I was going to get to go to heaven, and it wasn't scary, it was just kind of acceptance. And then I pictured my wife and my daughter's face, and I got scared. As I'm thinking about them, my corpsman who saw in that last picture, he came running over to me. It felt like 3 hours. That felt like it took forever. It was 12 seconds. As soon as the dust cleared, he was on me, saving my life, taking care of me, because that's what we do. We take care of each other. And so as he's taking care of me, the Marines in the area, and it wasn't just my small team on that patrol, there were 2 other squads, they all came to us. And I just saw leadership at every level, in the face of fear. It didn't matter. There was courage everywhere. There was leadership everywhere. One group went and set a perimeter to protect the area, to help me get out of there. Another group went to find a place for a helicopter to land, and they had to clear it so it wouldn't land on an IED. Another group was getting ready to carry me to that place. They're taking care of me. There were 2 corpsmen at this point working on me. So as that's happening, I'm just kind of praying these helicopters get there before the enemy does. I heard the worst sound that I could hear at that time. Another explosion behind me. I didn't even look. I look in my corpsman's eyes, and he puts his head down. Then he gets up, and he runs over to him. Another Marine triggered an IED. And we're not supposed to just get up and run over to him. We're in an uncleared minefield. But at that point in time, that Marine's life was more important to him than his own. He gets up and he risks his life to run over and save that Marine's life. And after that, the other corpsman, he calls someone over to hang out with me. I'm more stable, and he does the same thing. He runs across an uncleared minefield. Now they're saving his life. Next thing I know, I hear the helicopters. 2 helicopters are coming. I see them, and it's like, okay, thank goodness, get me out of here. And at that point, we start to get shot at. So this bad day that already got worse is now even worse. And initially, the helicopters were called off. You can't risk a helicopter getting shot down. But that pilot, I didn't know him. He didn't know me or Matthew Miller, the other Marine. He just saw 2 guys on the ground that needed him, and he put himself in harm's way to come in. He came in, landed between myself and Lance Corporal Miller. They put us on the helicopter on a stretcher. It took off. It was a 7-minute flight from right there to the surgical facility, basically like the little hospital on the front lines. I'll never forget that flight for 2 reasons. One, that's when I realized that I had lost the lower part of my right leg. And then 2, as we were coming down, it was myself laying right next to Matthew Miller. This is his first deployment, so he was younger than me. He was 19 years old. He had lost his left leg. And as we're coming down, a crew chief in the back starts counting down. He's like, all right, brace yourself. You got to be really loud. Because the helicopter's so loud. Brace yourself. We're landing in 30 seconds. You feel the helicopter start to move around a little bit, start to descend. 25 seconds. 20 seconds. And at that point, Matthew Miller looks over at me and he says, sir, you first. As in, let them take you off the helicopter first. I can hang on a little longer. I'll never forget that. He just lost his left leg. He just lost his leg. He was in intense pain. But instead of thinking about himself in that moment, he was able to look around and say, what can I do for someone else right now? I can let him off the helicopter. That's character. That's character. And I can guarantee you, if you go back a couple years, he was building that character when he was younger. And when it got to that point where he was in that position, he was able to do that. And I use that. I use that today. Now, when I'm going through my day, this might seem simple, but like him, whether you're having a good day or whether you're in pain and struggling, there's always an opportunity to look around, look at your friends, look at your peers, look at your family members, and say, what can I do for someone else today? And when you start doing that, those opportunities present themselves. And those are the things that matter. You impact someone else's life. That's what matters. We landed. I don't really even remember who they took off the helicopter first. I just know right before going into surgery, I remember seeing some of the guys that I recognized. I went into surgery. I woke up after surgery, missing my right leg below the knee. I had bandages all over my left leg, my arm. I'm in bad shape, but I was alive. And this is what starts the next journey, right? My life changed that day. This was the biggest challenge of my life. And now I get to share the good stuff with you. That was tough stuff. This is the good stuff, some lessons I learned. The first lesson that I learned, I learned that there are things in our lives that we cannot control, right? And change is hard. It is, no matter what you're going through. And as you continue to go, lives are going to change a little bit. And it's not a bad thing. It's just going to be different. At that point, my life changed. You can look at it as positive or negative, or just different, and an opportunity to grow through it. So there are things in our lives that we cannot control. And my leg, it's not going to grow back. It's not. I tried fertilizer, that didn't work. It's not coming back. But there are a lot of things that we do control. And we get to make a choice every day. And these are some of the things, and they may seem simple. I got some good ones for you. I learned one of life's lessons from my daughter. My daughter's 5 years old when I was injured. Her name is Lupe, and she's a cool little human being, I'll tell you. When I was injured, I was scared. After the dust settled, after I woke up in the hospital, I was really scared how Lupe was going to handle this because she, prior to me deploying, looked at me like I was Superman. So I wanted to be like Superman, right? And I wasn't. Well, my wife had to tell her. My wife got the news in the middle of the night on December 9th. And the next morning, before Lupe went to kindergarten, she sat her down and said, Lupe, Daddy got hurt at work. Daddy lost one of his legs. Daddy's coming home. We need to be there to support him. And really quickly, Lupe asked a question. She said, well, when is Daddy coming home? And my wife said, he's going to be home in about a week. That's what they told her, about 6 to 7 days. And Lupe, she sat back. She took about 10 seconds to process all of this information. And then she smiled. She said, Daddy's going to be home for Christmas. And I thought that was so cool. It was such a negative event for me and for my wife and for my parents and my friends. My little 5-year-old daughter is in kindergarten, right? About this big. She so purely and innocently pulled something positive from that situation. And I don't know what's better, like having a leg or being home for Christmas. But that whole having a leg thing, that was gone. Instead of her focusing on the negative, she decided to focus on something positive. I was in Germany. It took me 6 days to get back from Afghanistan. I went to another hospital in Afghanistan. I spent 2 days in a German hospital, hospital in Germany. And as on my way back, I was in Germany when my wife told me that was her response. And I knew immediately that this is the person that I wanted to be around. That person that could look at any situation and find something positive in it. That's the type of person I wanted to be, right? And it's a kid's way of thinking. Like at some point we lose that, right? I don't know. It's actually simple. When you think about what did Lupe do, that was just Lupe being grateful for what she had. She still had her father, and she was grateful for it. I realized there's a lot for me to be grateful for. I'm grateful to be alive, grateful to still be her father. I'm grateful to still have my left leg. I didn't used to like my left leg, so I lost my right one. Now I love this thing. Legs do a lot of cool things. I'm also grateful for the prosthetics that I have. The technology in prosthetics, they advanced so much. I got this leg. I got my running leg, which is pretty cool. I have a cycling leg. I have a surfing leg. Nah, it's actually just a water leg. I can't surf. That's how I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I had the privilege to serve our country as a Marine. That's something I wanted to do for a long time, something I got to do. Got to answer that call. I'm grateful that I'm here today. I'm grateful that I get to share my story with you guys. Grateful that you guys are out there. There's a lot to be grateful for. And when we put some gratitude and we remember things that we're grateful for, that's a way that we can impact the people around us in a positive way. And this is a good week for it, right? Thanksgiving coming up. Try to remember. Try to think about some of the things that you're grateful for and remember them. All right, so attitude is important. Attitude, mindset is so important. Perspective is big. Perspective is big for me because I was feeling a little bit sorry for myself after my injury. There was certainly times I went from being an infantry officer in the United States Marine Corps, leading Marines in combat, to all of a sudden I couldn't even get up and go use the restroom myself. I needed help to do the simplest things. I felt so dependent on everyone else, and I felt different. I was feeling sorry for myself until I met the other Marines, sailors, soldiers, airmen at that hospital that I was at. And their wounds and their scars made this single below the knee amputation feel like a paper cut. There were men and women hurt way worse than me. Double amputees so high they would never put prosthetics on. Triple amputees, men and women that would never walk again, see again, hear again. I realized, wow, I can't believe I was complaining about this. This is nothing compared to what some people are dealing with. Not only that, not only did I realize this could have been worse, but the men and women that I saw, they were in this hospital, they were going through rehab, they were recovering, they were learning how to run, they were working out, they're sweating, they're high-fiving, they're telling jokes. It was a group of warriors. And that's a choice that we get to make. We get to make that each and every day, especially when things are tough, especially when we encounter those challenges. Who are we going to be? Am I going to be that person that's feeling sorry for myself, or am I going to be that warrior? And they inspired me. I couldn't wait to join them. There was actually two guys that you can tell that they were friends. They must have been from the same unit. They had shorts and a T-shirt on. It was a homemade T-shirt. Both of them and two prosthetic legs, which I thought it looked pretty cool. And their backs were to me, and I'm still feeling this place out at the hospital. And I see them, and I read the back of their shirt that says, "I had a blast in Afghanistan." I remember reading that. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Is it too soon for me to laugh at that? That's pretty good. But that was the attitude that I was like, yeah, that's cool. I can't wait to hang out with these guys. This is awesome. I was inspired. And then right around that time, I got a very important email. And this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about goals. I've always had goals in my life, right? Having a goal is important. But at that time, that early on, I didn't really have a good goal until my commanding officer sent me an email. He's still fighting a war in Afghanistan, and he sends me an email, and I opened it up from my hospital bed. I'm sitting laying in my hospital bed with my iPad. I just had some delicious hospital food. You don't hear that a lot, right? I thought hospital food was pretty good. I was pretty stoked. The coffee was a little weak, but that's all right. But I open this email up and I read it, and it says, Eric, let me know when you're going to run your first marathon. And that was it. That was the email. And I read this email, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, what a jerk. Right? Why would you say that? But I knew what he was doing. And he knew what I needed to hear to get inspired, to get motivated. Right? Instead of thinking about the things that maybe I can't do anymore or can't do as well anymore, let's set a goal. Let's start thinking about the things that we can do. Let's set a goal and let's start working towards it. He challenged me to run a marathon, and that's when I had to one up it. So I set a goal to finish an Ironman triathlon. Is anyone here familiar with Ironman? All right. Ironman, so it's a triathlon. Every triathlon is a swim, bike, and run. The Ironman is a long distance event. You swim 2.4 miles, so it takes like around an hour or so. Then you ride your bike 112 miles. And then you finish by running a marathon, 26.2 miles. You have, I think, 17 hours to finish this thing in order to get your medal and be considered an Ironman. And I set this goal to run an Ironman because it felt almost impossible and because it inspired me. Do you have a goal right now? Do you have a goal right now that inspires you? Yeah? Good. Good. And if you don't, I want you to start thinking about one. Because I set this goal to inspire that inspires me, and that it was reason for me to get out of bed in the morning. It was reason for me to go into physical therapy. I was supposed to do physical therapy 4 times a week, and I went 6 times a week, and I asked for more because now I had somewhere to go. And I have to be honest with you, it wasn't all pretty. During some of those early days, like I had trouble getting out of bed, and thinking about the Iron Man was too much. I couldn't. It's like I don't know how I'm going to get to the kitchen today, let alone finish an Iron Man. And that's why we took that big goal, that lofty goal, and we broke it down into milestones. And milestone 1, that first milestone was learning how to walk. And I put a date on it. I wanted to be walking within 2 months of my injury because my Marines were going to be back in 2 months. I wanted to be standing when they got back. So this is exactly 2 months after my injury. I'm standing up in between the parallel bars. I'm not ready for an Ironman, but I hit that first milestone, which felt really, really cool. After this, I had to learn how to swim. When I swim without my prosthetic, so I go clockwise. I have to aim left to go straight, but we figured that out. Learn how to bike ride, learn how to run. Next thing I know, I was signed up for my first race. My first race was a sprint triathlon. And a sprint triathlon, a lot shorter, but again, it's that next milestone. And I'll never forget this day. I was living in San Diego. I wake up, I put on my triathlon suit, my kit, and I walk out into the living room, and I see my wife. I'm going to eat breakfast and then go to this race. And I see her, and her eyes get real big. She's looking at me. And I'm thinking, yeah, she's kind of checking me out a little bit. All right, I must look good in this triathlon suit. And then she like smiles, and then she starts to chuckle a little bit, and then she can't stop laughing. I'm like, Rach, what's so funny? What's so funny? And she says, I'm sorry, I've just never seen you in spandex before. I was like, oh, great. Does it make my butt look big? Now I'm self-conscious. She's like, yeah, it does a little bit. I think that's where that started. But I went and I did that race, finished that milestone. I did 3 races, 3 triathlons, and a marathon in that first year. And then at the beginning of the second year, I got a call from an organization called Refuel Got Chocolate Milk. Does anyone here like chocolate milk? I love chocolate milk. That was a kind of a cool phone call to get, and it was crazy. They said, "Hey, Eric, we saw what you've been doing. We're putting together a team to go compete at the Ironman World Championships in Kona, Hawaii. Do you want to be a part of it?" And I said, "Yes." And then they followed up with a second question, which I think they should have let off with. It was, "Are you lactose intolerant by any chance?" I was like, "Nope." And even if I was, I wouldn't tell you. I really want to do that race. So they were marketing chocolate milk as a recovery drink for athletes because chocolate milk has all of the necessary nutrients, minerals, and proteins that your body needs to recover after a difficult workout. So I was under contract to say that for a year. But I said, yes, I want to be part of this. It came with a coach, it came with a team. Pretty cool. I would be really impressed if anyone recognizes the dude on the right. Does anyone recognize him? He was on Dancing with the Stars, and he was a NFL wide receiver. Yeah, yeah, Times Ward. I'm from Pittsburgh, so like he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's a Super Bowl MVP. He was part of my team. It was awesome. I got to train and work out with him. Definitely afraid of sharks, but it's cool. In the middle is Paula Newby Frazier. They call her the Queen of Kona. No one's done what she's done in the sport. She's won the Ironman World Championships 8 times. That is our coach. That is our coach. And she looks really sweet in this picture. She was a good coach. She expected a lot from us, and I kind of gravitate towards those people. Think about someone in your life that expects a lot from you. Maybe one of your teachers. What's your most difficult class? Maybe one of your coaches. Maybe your parents. Those are the people that care about you the most, right? Because when we're challenged, that's when we grow. They want you to grow. She wanted me to grow, and she preached consistency. She's like, Eric, you got to do the workouts day in and day out. You have to do them, especially on the days that you don't want to. And she wrote my workouts. I worked out 7 days a week, multiple workouts a day, and there were definitely days I did not want to do them. But I didn't want her to find out I wasn't doing them because I was scared of her. And I did them day in, day out. And it makes sense with an Ironman. When you're training, when you're trying to reach that goal, if you don't do the training, you're not going to finish that race. But that translates to everything you do. Now think about some of the things that you're trying to accomplish in your life. It could be related to grades. It could be related to the instrument that you play, or what college you're trying to get into, or playing one of your sports. What's one of your goals? You have to be consistent day in and day out, especially on the days you don't want to. If you're trying to get straight A's, you can't just try on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. It's got to be day in and day out. When you can have that consistency and discipline, you'll see results. That's what's important. All right. One more story about my daughter, just because I love talking about her. I realize I'm talking about her a lot. I have two other kids. And I should talk about them more. But Lupe, when I was injured, I was given a handicap placard, and I wasn't ready to be handicapped yet, so I threw it away. And for some reason, I got another one in the mail. I don't know if people heard me complaining or something, but I grabbed that thing and I put it in my glove box for a rainy day. It doesn't rain a lot in San Diego, so I started using it on sunny days too. And I would park, and I'd grab my placard and hang it up, and I'd get out of my truck, and I'd make sure that I was like limping, like, oh, I got the leg thing going on. If anyone is curious why I'm parking handicap today. And one day I was with Lupe, my daughter, and we pull into the grocery store, and there's no parking anywhere. So I zip to the front, I pull into my handicap spot, and I grab my placard, and I hang it up, and I say, Lupe, let's go. We get out of the truck, and we start walking into the store, and as we're walking in, she says, Dad, what was that magic blue ticket? I'm like, oh, that thing. Well, because Daddy only has one leg, I'm allowed to park right there. That's for people like me, as long as I use that ticket. Without missing a beat, she says, Dad, you have 5 legs. You have your running leg, your biking leg, your water leg, your walking leg, and your left leg. And I was like, oh, that's funny, little brat. Right? And we're walking into the store, and I'm walking through the store. I was feeling a little bit guilty. I have nothing against handicap parking, but I just ran 6 miles prior to that trip. I was training for an Ironman triathlon and realized I'm just using my leg as an excuse when it's convenient for me. And it wasn't just with parking, it was with other things. It was with training. I had this lofty goal of running an Ironman, and I go out on a run with some buddies, and if I can't keep up with them, I'm like, hey, you guys keep going, I got the leg thing going on, right? I was using my leg as an excuse, and it was holding me back from reaching my potential. And I share this story with you not because I'm proud of it, but walking through that store that day, I made a promise to myself. I'm never going to use this stupid leg as an excuse again. And again, I'm not proud of the story, but I know that we are human and we use excuses to get out of things from time to time. And I challenge you. Next time you're going to use an excuse to get out of something, ask yourself, what is this holding me back from reaching? And maybe you won't use it that time. Maybe you're going to grow a little bit. And when you continue to do that, you're going to grow and grow and grow, and you're going to become a much better version of yourself. And I love it. All right, so we trained up. I got to go out to this race, Ironman World Championships, long swim. It was an hour and 9 minutes in the water. Didn't see any sharks, which was good. And I get out of the water, I hop on the bike ride. There's actually a station in Kona, Hawaii, when you get out of the bike ride, where you run past people and they slather sunscreen on you. And somehow I missed that station. So I'm out on the bike 3 hours in, and I'm like, I am getting fried. I got toasted, but I finished that bike ride and then I start the run. Last thing I wanted to do at that point in time in my life was run a marathon, but that's all I had left, 26.2 miles. So I just started going, put my leg on, put one foot in front of the other, and just kept going and kept going and kept going. There was a point during that run, 18 miles in, where I was sitting on the ground. I was out of energy. I had my leg off, and I was questioning whether I was going to finish this thing. And I wasn't going to quit. And that's one thing that I learned from growing up. I was never allowed to quit anything, and then as a Marine, there's so much at stake that you didn't quit. So I just kept on moving forward, and next thing I know, I came busting across that finish line, 11 hours, 54 minutes. It felt so good. I can't even make that face. I can't even put the emotions into words. It was more than a race to me. It was more than an event. It was me proving to myself something, and it felt so good crossing that finish line. Um, I like this picture. I like this picture. But although I was out on the course by myself, it was a team effort. I owe so much. So many people were part of my journey. My doctor, my physical therapist, the guy that makes my leg, my wife and daughter, my friends. So many people. Chocolate milk team, Heinz Ward, my coach. So many people were in on this journey. I think it's cool when you can impact someone else's life, and I like to recognize that. And now after this, I've been given the opportunity to help other amputees learn how to run, do clinics around the country, and doing one afternoon doing that feels better than crossing the finish line. But I think it's important once we do hit our goal. Once you hit your goal, celebrate it. Be proud of yourself. That's awesome. But then what's next? How can I grow more? What's next? I continue to race. I continue to do Ironman races. I've done 8 of them and just a bunch of other races. And then I got uh, into 2019, and that's when I set that goal to qualify for the Paralympics. So after Leeds, England, I moved to 12th place. I still had a couple places to go. I had to get second place in France, went there, and I got second place by 29 seconds. And then I had to get first place in a race in the United States, and I got first place by 7 seconds, and I qualified to go to Tokyo. I got to go out there. Unfortunately, I did not win. I did not get a medal. I got 6th place, but I felt so good coming across that finish line. All right, so that was finishing that race, and at that point, it felt good. Again, coming across that finish line and hitting the goal is special. Celebrating, and then what's next? I got 6. I need to do better than that. I want to do better than that. I love where I am and how this journey has taken me, and now I have a new goal. I want to qualify for 2024 Paris, and I want to try to win a medal for our country in triathlon. So what is, and I got to share with you. If we go back to that day I was injured, all right? There was a moment I thought I might be dying. I hope you don't experience that. But when that happened to me, 2 thoughts went through my head. For me, I thought I was going to go to heaven, right? And then I thought about my wife and my daughter. For me, I realized that those must be the 2 most important things in my life: my faith and my family. And am I living according to my priorities? And how can I grow? I had to make some rudder steers to get on track, but how can I continue to grow? So I challenge you right now, like, what are your priorities? And are you living according to them? What's something that you can implement into your life right now? Maybe it's something I said. Maybe it's something you see one of your friends doing, or one of your teachers or parents. Something that you can implement. Maybe just try to look at the positive, or set a goal. I don't know, but something that you can implement right now. So a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, you're going to be in a better place. So I challenge you to do that. And I want to thank you so much. You guys are extremely respectful. I just love how you guys are giving me the stage. I really, really appreciate having the opportunity to share some of my life with you. I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And yeah, I'm going to turn it back over. Unless, do we have a couple minutes for questions?
And you'll have an opportunity to ask a few questions in just a moment. But today's event would not be possible without the vision, the generosity, the donations, and careful planning by some special people and supporting local businesses. So please stand when I announce your name so that you can be recognized. We're so grateful, first and foremost, to our district administration and especially Mr. Donchek for permission to bring Captain McElvenny to our school. Thank you to Mr. Oakley for all of his planning and preparation of a particular schedule of events for our afternoon. And I don't think that Mr. Donchek or Mr. Oakley are able to be here at this moment. Um, it took a lot of time, attention, and detail to pull all of this off. Thank you to Lisa Hom, Marianne Crawford, and Matt Ederly for helping setting up the auditorium today. Our sincerest thank you goes to Donna and Chrysler Jeep of Bangor, Fresh Hills Convenience Store, Wingap, Trey's Automotive Repair of Penargel, Wingap Chevrolet, and Latimer Trucking of Chicago, Illinois for providing donations. And finally, on a personal note, a special thank you to my dad, Keith Miller, without whom this event would not have been possible. He brought this idea to me after hearing Eric speak at his company's annual meeting, and he was so moved by Eric's message of resilience that he felt that my students and our staff here at Penargel would benefit from meeting Eric and hearing this message. He put in hours of time to fundraise in order to get Eric here and help me organize this program. So let us please show our heartfelt appreciation to all of these people for all they have done to provide us a great experience with a round of applause. And finally, thank you once again to Eric McElvenny for traveling here to our school to share with us a message of hope and optimism. After the pandemic, it's a message that we all needed to hear. And it reminds us to be grateful for our blessings and privileges, especially as we celebrate Thanksgiving this week. So please know how much we appreciate your time with us. And again, thank you to the Dotted Group for helping us today. All right, so Eric will take a couple of your questions, and then we are going to move to fundraiser on the second floor. So if you have any questions, just raise your hands, and Eric will respond.
It's usually my favorite part. I see one in the way back. Yeah.
You ever
Did you say did I ever meet the Marine that was injured?
Yeah, when you were on the
Yeah. So Lance Corporal Matthew Miller. We've stayed in touch. We have the same anniversary. We both lost a leg on the same day. That December 9th is coming up. Matthew Miller is now Staff Sergeant Matthew Miller. He stayed in the Marine Corps, still serving our country on a prosthetic leg, and he's doing really well. He's like one of my heroes. He's awesome. Thank you for that question. Like I always forget to close that out, but I appreciate that. Thanks. Yes. So I was stationed most of my Marine career out on Camp Pendleton, and then I did deployments to Okinawa, Japan, a lot, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, Middle East, Jordan, Kuwait, Afghanistan. all kind of cool places like that. But I'm a West Coast guy, Camp Pendleton, just north of San Diego. Yeah, another question? Yes, behind the camera.
After, are you going to be working on smaller events up to the 2024 Paris Paralympics?
I think I heard. Was it? Am I going to continue to do the smaller events? Yes. Yeah, and it's crazy. Like I love the Ironman because one, I mean, whether you have one leg or three legs, like it doesn't matter. It's a hard race for anyone, and you're asking your body to do something that you're not sure it can finish. And I love that. I love that aspect of the endurance race, and it's like constant problem solving throughout, fueling your body and all that. And then this sprint race, it's an hour of just high level intensity. Your heart rate is my heart rate when I look at my numbers, it's up over 180 beats per minute for like an hour. It's just high intensity crazy. So it's very different in the way the races are. And in order for me to be good at the sprint triathlon, that's what I need to focus on. So I may run an Ironman next year, but then really focus on the short distance racing to get through Paris. Good question. Thank you. All right. Oh, yes. The most important leg of the sprint triathlon, it's different for everyone. My strongest is cycling, so I have to understand that going in, I'm going to get out of the water a little bit further behind some of the faster athletes with a background in swimming. But I would say in the Ironman, the cycling is most important because it's the longest part of the day. But in a sprint triathlon, I think you got to put the cycling and the running together. And I don't know, it's tricky. You got swimming, biking, running, and then the transitions between them are all very important. It's like you have to play to your strengths. Good question.